Watch the Comic News, episode 148. I am one of your hosts, Chris, alongside the Dungeon Master of Ceremonies, Mike.
Is that because you have a mini Cthulhu in front of you?
Yeah, it's a Mind Flayer, dude.
Mind Flayer, yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. Look at him. For people who don't know what a Mind Flayer is from Dungeons & Dragons, they pretty much feed off your mind, and they look like squid people.
Yeah, pretty intense.
Yeah, it's casual things you want to run into in a D&D campaign, that and owlbears.
Everybody loves a good owlbear. I mean,
yeah.
Part owl, part bear.
Who doesn't love 3d8 of damage straight to the face? Anyways, welcome to the show. No interview today, but we got a lot of stuff to talk about, I think. How was your playoff weekend? Watching all the footballs?
As good as I can be without any Eagles football on, but not bad. Got some got back into the grind of putting up or trying to get rid of old comics, so I've been selling some comics and
selling comics. What?
Replacing them with other comics, like a huge stack of ROM comics I'm trying to sort through right now, but the missus thought I was getting rid of them to make the collection smaller. Nobody tell her.
Little does she know. It's getting bigger. Yeah, I've just been pretty much lots of video games this weekend. I got back into Terraria. If you ever played that game, it's pretty good.
It's like a little bit
2D Minecraft, and it's like you start playing it, and then you start building with other people, and then you look at the time, and 5 hours has gone by, and you don't know where it went. It's one of those games, but it's good just to sink your mind and do for a little bit. Pretty cool trailer dropped this week. Wasn't expecting that, and I think it's only a month away. Locke and Key for Netflix.
Yeah,
pretty awesome. I saw some stuff online about it might not capture the goriness and the darkness of the Locke and Key book, but I mean there was a scene where the girl's covered in blood, so I can't imagine.
Yeah, it definitely skips right to the moment where they go to the mansion in Lovecraft, Massachusetts. But
yep. So
I'll be interested to see if they deal with the murder of the kid's parents or the kid's father.
Mm-hmm.
But only have read one volume so far. Right. I did recognize a lot of that first volume in that trailer, and I saw some stuff that I don't recognize at all. So, it looks cool. I hope it's good.
I think it's going to be real. I mean, if you notice that little the little kid that's playing the boy, I can't remember his name because it's been a while since I've read it, but he's the little brother that dies in the new It series. It's the same act. Yeah, so it was pretty cool, and it's funny, Stephen King's son, Stephen King.
Yeah.
It's all related somehow. I would assume, but I think it looks really good. I can imagine they're going to pull in a lot of viewers for that. I mean, look how quick Netflix drops a show, people watch it in a weekend, and just word of mouth, everybody's seen it. I think it's going to be one of those shows.
I get the feeling that this is going to have a Stranger Things-esque launch to it.
Yeah.
I know it's based on a comic, and the comic fans are going to come out to see it, but I think a lot of people are going to look at it and go what is this weird horror TV show, and not realize what it is. I thought
it was interesting, a trailer, and I guess they have to do this right. They don't really explain the keys right away in the first volume of Locke and Key.
No,
it's not here's all this exposition. But I guess they have to do that for the show, and they show a lot of different keys, which you really don't. It's weird because they don't open up with that right away in the book. So I'm interested to see how that. Maybe it's more of an adventure, and you get to see a lot more keys in the first season. I'm not sure, but
maybe. I mean, they did hint at more keys at the end of Volume 1 to say that we saw an adventure that involves this one key. But there's more in the building, and they do more stuff. So I could see one season going through 2 or 3 books, or possibly jumping around 2 or 3 books. So maybe that's it. But yeah, I don't know if you can. Not to talk bad about the TV audience, but I don't know if you can hold on to the TV audience as long when they're constantly asking, like, what the fuck's up with these keys?
Right, yeah.
Where like, when I'm reading Locke and Key, I'm saying the same thing, but in an intriguing manner, like, what the fuck is up with these keys? Like, I want to know.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how they do the mind one, where, like, you, like, stick it in the back of the person's head and, like, unlock their head. And, like, you can almost, like, so, like, you unlock their head and their head peels back away and you see, like, memories that you can, like, pull out. There's a lot of cool stuff they can do. I mean, the trailer, we see the shadows, which is, like, the evil part of the house, and we get the girl in the well, so they're going to do all that, which is, yeah, it's really interesting stuff. I think, and like you said, I think it's going to be like a Stranger Things. People are going to be like, huh, what's this? And they'll be like, oh my God.
Yeah, I get a good feeling about this one as far as audience retainment and audience excitement.
Yep. Have you been watching Dracula? That dropped on Netflix.
I didn't, but I saw that it was there, and I am interested in watching it.
So many things have been dropping on Netflix. It's like, man, I started Castlevania, which is pretty cool. Yeah. It's more like an anime, but it's I mean, everybody knows Castlevania for the video games, but that's a pretty good show as well. We got some really good news this week. Probably the best comic book news, nerd news, anything, whatever you want to call it. Jar Jar Binks, the beloved character from Star Wars Episode 1, 2, 3, could be returning in the solo Obi-Wan series. You excited? Why? Why would they tease us with this? Do they think? Are they like? We hear everybody's talking a lot like, oh, they must have like. This is what I think. The Disney executives stumbled upon that huge like plot that someone wrote about how Jar Jar Binks is like Snoke. Remember that? How like it was like he wrote a whole script or like an essay. They probably saw that and like, oh my God, the fans must love Jar Jar Binks and didn't realize what a meme is. You know what I mean? Like,
so. For those of us that are into read into the broader Star Wars universe, there is a book series, and Jar Jar is shown in the series as dying alone as a scavenger and beggar on a random planet.
It's amazing. That is amazing.
Because that's the fate that Star Wars fans want for him. The only thing I think this wasn't like it's going to be like a buddy cop movie with Obi-Wan and Jar Jar.
Right.
Actually, now that I say that, I kind of want that.
No, we got that already.
But it wouldn't surprise me if they kind of like lean into what happened in that book, and we just kind of see Jar Jar like, hey, it's Obi-Wan, and something weird happened. I don't know, but it'd be interesting if that's the realm they're going down. But this was just so strange to throw out there. Like, hey, fans, remember that guy that you didn't really care for in the last 3 movies?
Well, he's back.
He's back.
Surprise. Yeah, so there's that. New trailer drop for Birds of Prey. And, you know, we talked about how we weren't really, like, too excited. This is a great trailer. I think it's way better than the first one.
Yes.
Some cool things that come out. We finally get the canary cry, right? We get the reason they're all teaming up because they all pretty much wronged the Black Mask. I hope. I mean, we have Renee Montoya as part of the crew, right? I hope she ends up like dying and becoming the Question. Like, what if they kill her? Like, that would be an awesome character to like kill off, make her become the Question, and then she kind of like shows up at the end of the movie or something. I think that'd be really cool. Like, take that character because like all I see right now is a bunch of characters not in costumes or have like any abilities except Black Canary. And you need to make these characters more interesting. So immediately, like, kill Renee Montoya, make her the Question, do that whole storyline with her. That's what I'm asking. Please, DC, do that. Also, another good thing, we see Black Mask in a Black Mask. Yeah. So I mean, it looks good, and the fight scenes are done by the people who did John Wick. So the fight scenes look really good. A lot of the action looks great. I think there's a part in the trailer where I actually just so if I would like pick a day and you would tell me I'd find like a shitty villain reference on a Reddit comment about Snowflake or Snowflame. Do you remember Snowflame? The guy who started cocaine?
Yep.
everybody remembers the shitty villain of Snowflake. He was the guy that snorted cocaine, and that's how he got his powers. But his list of powers and abilities was just a guy who was like whacked out on coke. So there's the scene in the trailer where they're shooting at Harley Quinn in like a drug bust, and they hit like some cocaine that goes in the air, and she sniffs it up and it gets like super powered and like starts beating the crap out of everybody. And then it like led to this list of comments of like, oh, you get super powered from cocaine, and someone was like, wait a second, there's actually a villain that. And I was like, oh, I just love it that people know who this. Someone out there knew who this was.
Please let that happen sometime, please.
Yeah, but I mean, the trailer looks cool. It looks like a fun movie. I'm gonna go see it. So
yeah, and it looks like in the beginning that Harley like straight up kills
the Joker. Yeah, which would be amazing if that's Jared Leto's Joker. Boom, gone. She just blows up Ace Chemical. That would be great.
That would just be fantastic. But yeah, I'm gonna go see it too. It's actually funny that my big Valentine's Day plans are to go to a nice dinner and then go see Birds of Prey with the missus, because that's what she wants to do. So nice. No matter whether I want to see it or not, I'm seeing it. But this did get me excited for the prospect, because originally in that first trailer I was like, oh man, this is gonna be awful. But this one gave me some things I like you said, the Black Mask, the hyenas from the beginning, like the fact that there's hyenas in this movie, I was like, I'm in. Like, yes, you're doing it right. So
a hyena named Bruce.
Yeah. So yeah, it looks a lot better. This trailer definitely did it way more justice than the last one did. So
for sure. Golden Globes happened last week, and the Joker wins best in a performance in a drama and best score at Golden Globes. So that was Joaquin Phoenix, obviously won the Golden Globe, but pretty big deal. That means, whether or not you like the movie or not, everybody could agree that Joaquin Phoenix was an awesome Joker.
Yeah, first of all, round of applause to Ricky Gervais.
Yeah.
Second, yeah, like the fact that a comic book movie got to this pedestal. I mean, it's not the Oscars, but the Golden Globes are still a big deal. And this could lead to something more with the Oscars. Now, I said from the beginning that I felt like this movie was Oscar bait, and I still feel that way. But and as much as I didn't enjoy the movie, I do think that Joaquin Phoenix did an amazing job in his role that he was given. So good on him. The score one's a little confusing. I didn't think the score was all that great, but
I don't think the score was anything crazy.
Yeah, I also don't know who it was going up against, to be honest. I wish I looked it up ahead of time, but the score didn't stand out to me in that movie.
This is pretty cool. We always talk about like the actors that walk between worlds of DC and Marvel. Christian Bale is rumored to be joining Thor 4. What do we want him to play?
Well, I can tell you what I want him to play.
Okay.
I really, really want him to be the head of Roxxon. I forget his first name, but Augur, who turns into a giant minotaur.
Oh.
I think it's a good role because it fits Christian Bale, the actor.
Minotaur?
He has the look, and I feel like too that he wouldn't have to put a whole lot into in terms of time and effort. Because you'd have to be there for a few rounds of like him as a human, and then when he turns into the Minotaur, you just do a voiceover work. But it would be really cool to see that character come in because he played a big role in the Thor series that had Jane Foster as Thor. So that was my pick. I've seen people throw around like Kang the Conqueror and Doom and a bunch of others, but
who's the guy with the like Bullet Ray Bill or
Beta Ray Bill's
Beta Ray Bill? Yeah, that'd be interesting.
A lot of those have been thrown around because most of those don't require him on set, is why they're being thrown around. It could be like a Vin Diesel situation where Vin Diesel's in Guardians, but he's not in Guardians.
But he's not in Guardians.
But I would like to see him play Augur. I mean, I think that's the best. That's just who I would like to. That's mostly who I want to see in that movie because I think it's a cool storyline. But It would be interesting if he was like, I mean, Beta Ray Bill's a cool one too, but if he was like Kang or Doom and he was just the voice behind the mask, that would be interesting too, because that would mean we have Christian Bale in the MCU for a long time.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I don't see, there's one more piece of movie news that I don't see here, but if anybody remembered the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, lost the director this week, which was the original director from the first Doctor Strange, and they left for creative differences. So whatever that means, whether it's good or bad, I mean, we all really like the first Doctor Strange, so obviously it's going to suck, but not the movie, but it sucks that he has to leave.
Yeah, I saw that. It sucks he has to leave. Spouting creative differences, it's almost weird. I forgot to put that down in the notes because it subconsciously is like my feelings of it doesn't matter because Marvel's a machine. Like
it's going to be a Marvel movie either way.
It's kind of tough to say, but it's not a place for like to be super creative and artsy. Like it's a place to make these movies the way they want them made and to tell the stories they want told. So that sucks, but I don't think it says anything about the movie itself.
Right. And if we remember what happened with Ant-Man, right? Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
Creative differences. Everybody's like, oh my God, how could you get rid of Edgar Wright? He's an amazing director. And then Ant-Man came out and made $1 billion and nobody remembered.
And two of my favorite Marvel movies of recent memory are Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp. So
yeah, so I think it'll be just fine. That being said, let's jump into the awesome comic news because there's some cool stuff coming from DC. Comics. That's what we're here for, right? I think. I don't know.
No, we're here to talk about Christian Bale.
We could. I mean,
so The Dark Knight Rises.
Yep.
Best Batman movie ever.
More than The Dark Knight?
I don't know. I'm just saying some bullshit. See if I can get it
up. I mean, I think it's really good. Yeah, as a trilogy, I mean, I really love that trilogy, and now I kind of want to go back and watch all of it. But all those movies are really good.
Yeah, they are.
At the time when I watched Dark Knight Rises, I wasn't like, man, this one's way worse than all the other two. You know, like I was like, this was awesome. You got Bane, you got Batman, you got Alfred.
It's yeah, it's a Batman movie.
Yep.
Well, I mean, now that we're down this road, I think that movie's not as bad as people make it out to be. There are some things that are kind of like, you know, he flew away with a nuclear bomb, like what?
Yeah.
But as a whole, I do enjoy that movie. I think the biggest sin of that movie is nobody's fault. It's the fact that Heath Ledger wasn't alive to play the role in that movie he was supposed to play.
Right.
Because when they have the court and Scarecrow's at the top of the court, that's supposed to be Joker, according to Christopher Nolan, and that would have been fantastic. And
he was still supposed to be like the main villain. Like he had a whole plan for Harvey Dent and all this other stuff. And but I do have the biggest sin of that movie is when Batman comes back to Gotham. And, you know, everybody's under like house arrest or whatever. And he comes back and he does this big reveal. Oh, you can walk out. And the Scarecrow's like, walk out on the ice and go die. And he gets to Gotham. He doesn't save the city right away, though. He paints a bat in like gasoline on the side of the Gotham City bridge. And then for his big reveal, he lights it on fire.
Wait, I want to change my answer.
Okay.
The biggest sin of that movie was, oh, that's what that feels like.
Yeah. There you go. That too. There's some good memes from that movie. I mean, overall though, I mean, come on, it's still a Christopher Nolan movie. True and true. Right? That guy can make a movie.
Great trilogy. We're gonna have to binge watch it sometime. But yeah, DC Comics news.
Anyways, we can't make this all about the Dark Knight trilogy. DC news for comics. Publisher Dan Didio gave a New Year address to retailers and discussed Black Label, and we talked about how good Black Label's doing with all the crazy books, the Wonder Woman book, White Knight, Last Night on Earth, Superman, Year One, all these great stories, the Joker story, right? And Dan said it was extremely successful for DC. They also said the response and the reaction is better than anything they could imagine. And it's awesome. I mean, people want this. This is what they want. They want stories that these creators have like pretty much no limits. There's limits, right? But it almost takes those stories and pushes them a little further. I think the adultness, like the language, the bat dicks, it makes it more realistic for everybody. Or I think people can find something that they like. Yeah, if Batman's punching a perpetrator in the face, he's going to swear at him. You know what I mean? He's not going to say, "Oh, golly gee."
Yeah. And it allows creators to discuss and tell stories about the versions of these characters that they want. So Harley Quinn, we're not big fans of, but Harleen, where it's like old school Harley Quinn, is something that we are fans of, and was a book I really enjoyed. So it's cool to see them be able to dip their toes in both versions of a character.
Mm-hmm. And so basically, he made this announcement to say that they won't be soliciting anything until they make sure that the material is going to be coming out as scheduled. They want to make sure that it's going to be consistent material, that it's strong, that it comes out on time, and instead of just announcing a whole slew of books like they did with New 52 and then having to reel back a bunch of them after they're not that popular. So pretty much more of the same thing, hopefully, with the Black Label stuff. They've been doing a great job so far. Yeah. They got to keep coming.
Which is big because you mentioned White Knight. White Knight, if I'm remembering correctly, didn't start as a Black Label book. It eventually became a Black Label book.
Yep.
But the first real Black Label book was Batman Damned, and of no fault of anyone's, except for probably editorial, that book had to be... That book was released and then re-released and then pushed, and it just kind of caused issues, and it seemed like it fell down that path with most of the books moving forward. So a lot of the books you read, there was always some sort of delay on it, whether it was a week, 2 months, whatever. And that's, even though the books are good, that definitely does hinder the ability of a reader to enjoy it a little bit more, aka Doomsday Clock.
Yep.
So it's good to see that they want to, and I wish that all publishers would do this kind of across the board. If it's a book that you know is going to hit, like if you're going to put a book out with Batman, bank 2 or 3 issues before you solicit it. Yeah,
that makes sense.
I get why the question, maybe you want to release the first issue before you really commit to it, but they do need to do a better job of just making sure that the books come out as scheduled, as promised. And I'm glad to see that they realize that and are going to make moves towards it.
I agree. So last bit of DC news here. Colorist Michael Adier tweets a yet to be solicited cover for Shazam number 13, which confirms his 13th issue. And it also confirms that Superboy Prime is returning to DC continuity.
It's almost like there's a crisis coming.
Oh, there is. There is a crisis coming. And yeah, how that becomes part of Shazam, I guess we'll find out. But yeah.
Yeah, and not in the notes because it's kind of a non-story, but like they did confirm that Scott Snyder and Capullo are working on Dark Knight's Metal 2, or as they're calling it, Death Metal, which is a fantastic name.
Amazing. Take my money.
But yeah, like, of course, they've been working towards a crisis for a while. And I completely get why they're bringing back Superboy Prime. Of course, it's a Jeff Johns book, because it would not surprise me if whatever crisis book this is a Jeff Johns penned book.
They're like, the whole Doomsday Clock thing wasn't working out, so let's just make the crisis happen in Shazam.
Yeah, like, I mean, obviously, how I feel about this right now is that you're hinting that Superboy Prime's coming back. You've showed us that Dr. Manhattan basically becomes young Clark Kent.
Yep.
So at some point, there's going to be a crisis, and I guarantee that Dr. Superman is going to have to fight Superboy Prime. Yeah,
something crazy like that is going to happen.
Yeah.
But anyways, Marvel news.
Finally, the good news.
The good stuff. Marvel is bringing back the Power Pack. Power Pack spinning out of the events of the one-shot Outlawed. Okay, right. We talked about Outlawed coming out already. Writer Ryan North and artist Nico Leon will bring this 5-issue series to the shelves.
I take back everything. This isn't the good news.
Power Pack, you're not excited for that?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I want to meet the person who is excited for it.
Come on the show. We'll talk to you about Power Pack.
But yeah, this outlawed book, apparently, like, teenage superheroes are going to be outlawed.
Uh-oh.
So we'll see, because, as we go forward.
Yep. New Warriors are relaunching with 5-issue series from writer Daniel Kibblesmith and artist Luciano Vecchio, spinning out of the events of Outlawed. Okay, so we're getting another book out of Outlawed.
Yes. New Warriors kind of cool. You might check it out. Yeah. I do want to talk about the fact when all of our last names, most of them come from a fact that when sometime in your past you had a trade and your last name comes with a trade. So if you're a blacksmith, your last name is Smith. This man's name is Kibblesmith. Now, I'm sure he's a fantastic writer, and this is no offense, but I want to know what dog food manufacturer his ancestors created.
It comes from a long line of dog food.
No, all joking aside, yeah. New Warriors is cool. I'll check it out.
I did see Kibblesmith, and I was like, interesting. I don't know how that works, but also spinning out of Outlawed is a relaunch of Champions from writer Eve Ewing and artist Simone DeMeo. Champions coming back.
Yeah, I like Champions. Champions are cool. Ever since Mark Waid brought Champions into our lives years and years ago. Mm-hmm. I followed every iteration, and it's a cool collection of the young heroes, including Miles and Miss Marvel and a bunch of others, trying to do good outside of the typical let's punch the bad guy in the face. So it'll be interesting to see how they react to this, and so it looks like it's going to be an ongoing too, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Cool. And then we got the other stuff. The Naomi co-writer David F. Walker is launching a new creator-owned comic with artist Damian Hill through his own Solid Comics imprint, and that's comics with an X, folks, in case you're looking for it.
That's how you know it's cool.
Yeah. The Hated is what it's called. It's said to be a blaxploitation spaghetti western about the unsung black gunslingers and outlaws from the Old West. Pretty cool. Why not?
Yeah, David F. Walker, an African-American man.
Yep.
Naomi's a good book. It sounds like a cool story.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see much of the art on it when I was reading up about it, but the story sounds cool. It might be worth checking out.
Yeah. Why not?
It's also an interesting look at that point of view from that time period, too.
Right, exactly.
Which I don't think it's explored at all, if enough.
Yeah. AWA announces Archangel 8 from writer Michael Morecci and artist C.P. Smith. This comic is solicited as a story about a secret war between heaven and hell. Sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, Michael Morecci from Vault Comics did Wasted Space, which is a book I enjoyed when it was out.
Yeah.
Also a novelist as well, but War Between Heaven and Hell. I'm in. That sounds metal as fuck.
Yeah.
I'm just going to listen to Slayer while I read it too. So.
Raining blood! Or probably Angel of Death while you there was that. I remember this was like 5 years ago, but there was that when like one of the Deadpool comics got like rebooted. There was a fight scene. He's like, "Turn on Pantera's 5 Minutes of Hell," and read this. So I did. I like blasted the metal while I read the book. I'm like, this is awesome.
My favorite moment like that was from South Park.
Yeah.
When all the hippie circles are coming to South Park.
Mm-hmm.
And so in order for them to get rid of all the hippies from South Park, they create this giant machine to drill through the hippies while blasting Slayer out of the...
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
There's no other way.
When you need to get rid of hippies, you call Cartman. That's just who you call.
1 month before issue 1 releases, Kirkman and Samney's Kung Fu Comics Firepower, we talked about this book coming out. It gets a prequel. It's an original graphic novel in May to set up the story. So I guess it's pretty interesting. They want to. Does this mean oh shit? Maybe people are going to be confused. We got to get them this story out before the book comes out.
Yeah, it's strange that it was like solicited this way. But,
yeah.
It's like a $10 OGN.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. For me, it's I think I'll order the OGN before I order the comic and then see if I like it, which might be a cool way to kind of be like, all right, if I don't like this OGN, then I'm clear. I don't have to go any further. Where like a normal Kirkman book, I'll give him like 5 or 6 issues to draw me in. So
right, exactly. Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, I'm a big fan of Kung Fu, so who knows?
Kung Fu, Kirkman, Samney.
Yeah.
What can go wrong?
I'll be checking it out. So I guess we'll talk about what we read this week, Chris.
Yes, indeedy. I have a feeling that we did not read any of the same comics. Let's.
But you're wrong. We both read Kylo Ren.
Oh.
Why don't we start there? Why don't we start Kylo Ren number 2? Remember the first issue is kind of just a story of how Kylo Ren's a dick. The second one is pretty much how what his obsession with the Knights of Ren. And I guess we find out he didn't start the Knights of Ren, right? I mean, that's the most important thing here.
No, so he met the Knights of Ren while exploring old Jedi temples with Luke as a kid. Mm-hmm. And even they saw something inside of him that would lead him to the dark side. Right.
And there's a whole conversation with Snoke, and it's weird. Snoke is wearing like a safari outfit, like he's got like a golfing hat on, like, you know, they're just out in the jungle together, and it's just weird to see Snoke not like decrepit in a chair, like dying. But they talk about how he doesn't like his name and kind of like the origin of how he gets Ren or adopts the Kylo Ren name. And then the other half of the story is, like you said, him and Luke are looking for old Jedi temples, Jedi supplies, and they stumble upon the Knights of Ren, and we meet Ren, who is the leader of them, and he's got a cool mask, he's got a red lightsaber, and basically, you know, shouts over to Cal, hey, if you ever want to join us, you ever want to change. It was an interesting fight because he's like, I triggered my lightsaber to blow up, and then Luke's like, I wouldn't try that. He's like, yeah, you're right, I'm gonna go now. It was such a strange fight. It was just like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna head out. But then Kylo goes back to that site to grab the mask, and then he gets cornered by some Jedi that are saying, hey, you're not being cool, man.
Yeah. It's the Padawans from the first issue too, from the temple. But yeah, it's a lot of cool stuff in here. I mean, the fight did end kind of awkwardly, but I like that next issue. I mean, we'll get a quick fight, and then I'm sure he's going to go meet the Knights of Ren. We learned in the first issue that in order to join the Knights, you have to basically kill somebody to get in. So I'm sure we're going to get that sacrifice in the next issue too. I'm just really enjoying this look back on the rise of Kylo Ren.
Mm-hmm. And the art is really good too. Like those shots of like Luke and stuff like that, man. Really good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can get to the point where we didn't read the same books.
Okay.
Dragonfly and Dragonfly Man number 3, my favorite book. We get the story. So the story kind of starts off. They fight a guy. This is in like the 60s Batman universe. This is how I like to reference it for everybody. There's a 60s Batman version, and then there's the Dark Knight version. Basically, the 60s Batman version finds he finds out something from the future, and the info that he finds out is that when he's out one night fighting crime, his partner dies. And to counteract that, he kind of gives Stinger, who's basically his Robin, he gives him the cold shoulder, and he replaces him with Lady Dragonfly Man, which he doesn't know yet, but Lady Dragonfly Man is an android, and he's kind of like watching them on the news, and he's getting jealous that they're like, you know, fighting crime, and in the midst of all this, Lady Dragonfly gets destroyed in one of the nights, and come to find out, he's like, I knew one of my partners would die, so I replaced you with the android to prevent that from happening, which is like, this is a crazy story. And meanwhile, in the Dark Knight universe, there's like a falling out between Stinger and that Dragonfly man, and it's kind of depressing of like, okay, I don't really need you, or there's definitely some like issues going on, like Stinger feels like he's always put on the back burner for stuff, and so that's a little more depressing story than what's actually happening. And this book is just so good. Great stuff coming from that. Stranger Things Into the Fire #1, which is actually my pick of the week. Really good stuff. If you like Stranger Things, you'll like this book. Enough said. I mean, it's a side story that takes place 7 years after the events of Hawkins, like the TV show. It follows two different characters, Marcy and Ricky, that both live in Boston right now. So from the Stranger Things show, we found out there's other kids that have been experimented on, and they were actually and 11 goes and finds these kids in the first season or second season. They live in Chicago. They're almost like mutants. Like they're kind of like a gang. So these two, Ricky's almost like an older brother to Marcy. She's like 16. I think he's older. And so she's like going from school to school now, trying to be a normal kid. And Ricky is trying to go and find other kids like them and save them. Well, Ricky's powers are almost like Jedi mind tricks. Like he can persuade people. So basically they wait around and wait for news of like other powered people and go look for them. They end up stumbling upon the group that has not number 11, but number 8, who we know from the TV show. And she's with her group from Chicago. And they find out that Marcy had a twin sister that was also experimented on, and she's still alive somewhere. And her power is she can create fire. So it's pretty OP, but they're keeping her drugged up somewhere, and they think that the special government people or whatever they are have her captive right now. And this is after thinking that she was dead from like the last series, so it's pretty cool. Really cool. I mean, it's more of the Stranger Things universe. If you really like Stranger Things, you'll like the book for sure. Mm-hmm. And hence the name Into the Fire. Her powers are fire, so there you go. Dollhouse #3. This is that the Joe Hill imprint at Hill House Comics at DC. There's a big time jump from the last issue. If you remember, the girl who had killed her father she was in a orphanage. Well, there's a time jump now. Alice is actually an adult, and she has a one-night stand and has a kid. She ends up raising that kid on her own without the father in the picture. Basically, the mother kind of warns her about the dollhouse, because like the little girl says, "Oh yeah, a dollhouse appeared." She's like, "Don't trust it." She knows now as an adult, like it's evil. Well, we know that the one girl who tried to use it in the orphanage died, and her spirit is still like roaming around from the dollhouse. Well, Alice, her child is part black. So what happens is this evil spirit goes and finds like some crazy extremist dude who like doesn't agree with like interracial marriage and interracial love and all that stuff. And so the end of the issue, like they're getting on a bus to bring her to school, and the guy is there, and like he has a bomb vest on and he blows up the bus, and that's how the issue ends. But so the spirit went to the guy and was basically like, I'm a higher being, like messing with his head, like, yeah, you're very religious. Well, like I've been sent from God or whatever, and this is your duty it's crazy. Like that she used her influence like that. Meanwhile, we have that backstory of the 1800s of like how this all started. But the guy who originally, the explorer that found the cave, finds out that whatever is in the cave is a demon, so he goes back to try to kill it. So there's something that happens that makes this dollhouse become possessed, and I guess we're finding all that out. But it's a crazy story. I don't know how they pick up in the next issue if they blew the main character up in this issue. I guess we'll see what happens, but pretty crazy story for sure. And then Batman 86. This is the James Tynion and Tony S. Daniel art with James Tynion the fourth or whatever writing it. this is a pretty good issue. I mean, Tony S. Daniel, dude, his art so good, especially in a Batman book. Basically, Batman. Well, there's one thing that's still Alfred is gone, still, and they talk about that. And there's all this talk, the whole issue about how like Batman wants to shape Gotham in his own image and make it better. And like Bruce Wayne is supposed to be at a dinner party, but he's like out capturing 5 villains that are being led by Deathstroke. And it seems like a typical night for him. Like he's not coming to the dinner party, but Catwoman is at the dinner party, Selena Kyle, and actually stops someone from like, I don't know if he was going to try to blow up the dinner party or whatever, but it teases a villain, and I'm pretty sure it's Poison Ivy. I'm not sure yet though. Of like, and it kind of says that like, oh, Batman in his own image for Gotham, blah blah blah. So I'm assuming it's going to be Poison Ivy coming back, but yeah, I mean, it was, as far as like first issues go, you get a lot of different characters. You get Batman being Batman, which is great. I mean, he doesn't have a mustache, like, you know, Hawaii 5-0 Batman or whatever, Miami Vice Batman. So I mean, I'm going to stick with it. It's Batman. I'm going to be reading it, and a lot of the things that Tom King did with his issues, kind of sticking, like the Alfred being gone and stuff like that. So we'll see how that goes.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah. Yep. And that's it.
All right, so I'll try to be quick. Venom number 22. This is part 2 of the Venom Island story. So basically, like this island they're on, there's some connection that Venom has to it. I'm sure much hardcore Venom fans than either of us know what the connection is, but he's been here before. He's kind of laid it out. There's an arsenal there. There's like places for him to hide, and he's going to try to fight the symbiote and try to cleanse it from carnage. And in doing so, he ends up maiming himself in a way that's going to change him for a while. I'll leave that for the back. Excalibur number 5. This was interesting because it was kind of the climax of everything that's been happening. So like, we've got Gambit and a few other X-Men going to the other world to get these crystals. They're supposed to help Apocalypse transform the Krakoan portals so that anybody can go in and out of the other world, which will help them fight the monsters that are coming through. And the crystals they get don't work. So Apocalypse is going nuts, kind of like freaking out on Gambit, like he fucked up and punching him and doing all this stuff. When Rogue awakens from whatever kind of slumber she was in and sucks all the energy out of Apocalypse, which ends up killing him. And then we get the last page, which is Rogue looking like Rogue, but also looking like Apocalypse. And we end up finding out this is kind of Apocalypse's plan, or his backup plan, because the crystals are made from old bones that are mutant bones that are ancient, and there's no other mutant in the history of this world that's more ancient than Apocalypse.
Right.
So to have his energy is the same as to have those crystals. So it's interesting because Apocalypse is apparently dead now.
Or so we think.
Oblivion Song number 23. This was kind of leading the issue that everything was leading up to, where they went into the other dimension. They're going to save all the people from it. And, of course, something goes wrong.
Of course.
One thing is, like, they meticulously planned out things where they were, like, going in and out of this building for the past, like, 10 issues. And mapping it out so that they had safe ways to escape, because they're in this weird prison building that has multiple stories. So if you flash out on the second story, you're going to come to Earth at that same elevation. So a few people die because they freak out and they like try to flash themselves back, and they're like 3 or 4 stories up.
Oh, geez. Oh, man.
But then there's the big reveal that what was really happening is these other dimensional creatures wanted the humans to keep flashing in and out so that they could study it, because they want to get out of that dimension and take over our Earth. And we end up finding out that they discover how to do it. So I really enjoy Oblivion Song. I don't know if you're still reading it or not, but
no, I'm not. Nope.
I am still really enjoying it. New Mutants number 5. We basically find out that this mission that the New Mutants are on is a suicide mission. So Gladiator sent them to protect this warrior princess in space because X-Men.
Yep.
And at the same time, Gladiator doesn't want her to reach the planet that she's going to, so he sets up his own trap to try to kill her and all the New Mutants. And it doesn't go quite as planned. So it's been interesting so far. Let's see, yes. Serpent Wars has been trash. Miles Morales, The End. So this is the first book in the End series that they're doing. And this is in a future where this like plague has taken over, and Miles has, along with friends, have discovered a way to keep Brooklyn safe with this like dome. And they have to fight these weird mutated people who are trying to, or like taken over by this virus. It's a very strange story, and I enjoyed it, but I don't know how it fits into anything. It was just kind of a cool one-off story.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny to see Miles, who's like the young teenage, Spider-Man, as an old man with a beer gut.
That's awesome.
Amazing Spider-Man number 37. This was kind of a day in the life of Spider-Man, and it was nice that Otley's back on the art for it. So it's him going through the, like everything's going as it is, and I do this and I fight these people and this happens, and him trying to find time to still be in a relationship with Mary Jane. So it was kind of like just a slowdown issue of like, this is what Spider-Man's life is like. And it ends with the big, like, I don't even know the guy's name anymore. But the villain they've been teasing for fucking 20 issues now. That's got all the like weird centipede things crawling off of him. So apparently he's going to be the big bad for the next story arc.
Oh, okay.
Which will be interesting. Savage Avengers number 9. This has Doctor Doom, Conan, and Doctor Strange coming together to fight Colin Gath and try to stop him from bringing this demon to the Marvel Universe. And so Doctor Strange gets hurt and is about to die when Doom actually saves him. And how he saves him is he has this satellite that's holding one of his old Iron Man armors, because anyone doesn't remember, Doctor Doom was an Iron Man for a little bit there. It was a weird time, I know, but it happened. And it shoots down and kind of cocoons Doctor Strange to heal him, and gives us the big thing at the end where we got Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Sorcerer Supreme. So it was kind of a cool little ending to it, and I'm just really enjoying Savage Avengers. It's a cool magic sword and sorcery book inside Marvel lore. Marvel's X, which is the return of Earth X from Alex Ross and Jim Krueger. Anyone doesn't know, Earth X is a book about, it's like an alternate universe Marvel story where everybody has superpowers. So this event happens, we end up finding it's Terrigen Mist, and everybody on this Earth has now been blessed with superpowers. So it's like, how do we go about the world where everybody has that? Mm-hmm. This takes place before all of those events, so people are still being affected by this virus, and they just think it's a virus. And it's kind of funny because they go into a little bit of the politics of it, where like everybody thinks that mutants are contagious, and like they're starting to like go after mutants in there. Mm-hmm. But it follows this little boy whose family is like, one died, one got superpowers, and like he's a big like nerd like you and me playing with Captain America and Iron Man action figures, and he's like mad that he didn't get powers, so he goes and sets out to. I'm sorry. So after his grandmother dies, his parents die, and his sister gets superpowers, he's like, fuck it, and he leaves to go to New York City because he thinks that Cap and the Avengers are going to help him. So it was a cool intro into that world and what's happening from the ground level before the events of Earth X, and I really enjoyed it. If you're an Earth X fan, it's definitely worth checking out. And then my pick of the week, which was The Ruins of Ravencroft Carnage, number 1. So this is taking place after everything from Absolute Carnage. And anyone who doesn't know, Ravencroft is Marvel's Arkham Asylum. And so Ravencroft's been destroyed. They decide that they're going to rebuild it. And Wilson Fisk is behind the rebuild.
Of course he
nobody
is.
really trusts it. Well, he's the mayor, so. So we get a history of like what Ravencroft is and how it came about. The fact that it's on like this sacred land that's haunted by the natives and all this stuff. And there's a discussion between Misty Knight and Mayor Fisk about like how they shouldn't rebuild it, should they rebuild it, this and that. And then they end up finding out that underneath the ruins, not only do they find journals from the people who created it, but they find that there's a second facility underground that was there the whole time nobody knew about. So
interesting.
It was an intro to this whole bringing back Ravencroft and what it's going to do moving forward. So I really enjoyed it just because it's something we don't explore enough in the Marvel continuity.
Nice.
That's all I got. So, Mike, where can people find you on those internets?
They can find me at Fortress Ricker on Twitter. Where can they find you and or the show, Chris?
Well, they can find me at Fortress Chris on Twitter, or they can find the show at FortressComicNews.com. Remember, everybody, if you're listening to our voices, to give us a 5-star review on whatever podcatcher you use. It helps us a lot, and it makes Mike feel good at night. And if you are watching us, to like, subscribe, share, and all that fun stuff, because it's fun. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye.